So people with ADHD are 500% more likely to be an entrepreneur. To put that in perspective, about 4 to 5% of adults have ADHD, but 29% of entrepreneurs have ADHD. And in this video, I'm gonna talk about how I used to struggle extremely with my ADHD symptoms and how I've actually turned it into a superpower for me and growing my business. If you don't know me, I'm Alex. I'm 23 years old, living in Bali with my business partner. We've been able to scale our business up to 70K a month, and we're shooting for 100K a month. From that journey of $0 to $70,000 a month, I've definitely had to overcome a lot of my weaknesses in the area of ADHD. First, what's the problem of ADHD? So society's conception is basically that crazy kid who has to get tossed in the corner of the classroom and get spanked over and over again, right? Bouncing off the walls, all this crazy stuff. But the reality is ADHD is a spectrum, right? I've met other ADHD entrepreneurs who just have it way worse than me. I've also met people who are they are on the spectrum of ADHD and they also just have it less bad than I do. I would say I'm probably a little bit under the middle side of things. Like I'm not bouncing off the walls, but I have been struggling with ADHD my whole life. I've been very disorganized. I've had issues with my hyperfocus. It's funny how some people think ADHD is a lack of focus, but it's actually the inability to regulate where your focus is. But you're always like super focused on something. And the struggle is in creating guardrails and systems in your life so that you are always focusing on the right thing. And that's what this video is about. So the big revelation for me came when I read the book, The ADHD Advantage. That book is so good. If you haven't read it, I would highly recommend it. It talks about how ADHD survived evolution because it had an evolutionary advantage. There was just hunters, there were adventurers, people that went out and explored the unknown land. They were more impulsive, they were seeking more novelty, they were less prone to being scared of risk, right? And that led to the ADHD surviving and thriving in today's world. And one funny thing that happened to me was I went to a mastermind event in New York City at the WAP headquarters. If you don't know what WAP is, it's a bazillion-dollar company. They are a big payment processor. And it was interesting when I heard that they will not hire you unless you are neurodivergent, whether you have autism or ADHD. Like they literally will not hire you if you don't have one of those things. And it's because the culture there is extreme. They want people working long hours. They want people just hyper-focused and obsessive, right? So everyone there, the vibe I got was that everyone was just very bright. Like they were very dialed. They were extremely competent individuals. They had a lot of energy and they thought outside the box. And that's exactly what that company wanted, right? And that book, The ADHD Advantage, and seeing this culture at WAP both really exposed the superpower that I have inside me with having ADHD. Things like thinking outside the box creativity, my hyperfocus. If I can just get on the right thing, I can work harder than most people will ever understand how to work. I feel my emotions more intensely, which makes me a better leader, and I can communicate things more intensely to my team. And I think a big one is just not having an off switch. Like I'm pretty much always in go mode. There's some days where I kind of feel like I'm locked out, but I would say most of the time I feel very locked in on something. But even though it's a superpower, you still run into a lot of problems with it, right? There's memory issues, there's just executive function issues. Your mind can be cluttered and disorganized. So you have to have things in your life that protect you from the bad and boost the good positive effects of ADHD. And so I'm gonna talk about the 4 pillars that have made ADHD a positive in my life. The first pillar is a clean workspace. For me is a clean mind. So I need my desk to be clean. My desk isn't always clean, but I've been working on the habit of just cleaning it off as much as I can all the time. And I try to keep only the bare essentials on it. No piles of stuff, no trash, no food, like just my computer. I have a little statue of Buddha because I think it makes me a little more calm. I have a couple supplements there so I do not forget to take them, but that's it. I just have my computer, a Buddha statue, and a couple supplements there. That's it. I don't have this elaborate desk set up with 1,000 little shiny objects because I think shiny object syndrome can be a very literal thing. If you have a bunch of shiny objects on your desk, it will not help you focus. Now, even more important is your digital workspace. So one thing that's really helped me, I used to open up 1,000 tabs. I would have a bunch of stuff going on. I would be thinking on Miro boards and just throwing shit against the wall and hoping that I come back to it and actually execute on it. But now my habits are I always keep all of my tabs closed. I only have tabs open that I need to have open. I always have my Google Calendar and my to-do list tab open because I want that to be something I'm constantly coming back to. But I always am closing tabs. That's such a good habit. Close tab, close tab, close tab, close tab, close tab. And my desktop. Like my wallpaper, I just have no massive amount of files. You might be watching this and be like, oh shit, I have a mountain of files on my computer. I just put them away. I put them in my Finder. I keep them out of sight because it's not necessary. It just clutters your mind, makes it harder to think. And the more minimalist you can be with your computer, the better you will feel in general, the clearer you'll be able to think, and the less distracted you'll feel. The second pillar of ADHD mastery for me is my to-do list system. So inside Google Calendar, there's this little thing called Google Tasks. I would recommend using it. I have 2 to-do lists. One of them is my main to-do list. The other one is my miscellaneous to-do list, okay? My main to-do list is the one that's mostly open. At most, it can have 3 things on it. 3 things. So this prevents a lot of overwhelm. I sit down and I just have the one thing I need to do. Ideally, there's one thing on that to-do list. This is my priority. The definition of a priority is that it's one thing. My second to-do list is there for when I've completed my priorities and for me to dump random stuff that's not about moving the needle forward. So after I'm finished doing the thing that's moving the needle forward the most, I go to my miscellaneous to-dos and I knock things out one at a time. And if that one thing on your to-do list that's the priority is something that's daunting to you, one thing I really stress and really try to focus on myself is breaking it into baby steps. If I ever feel stuck, paralyzed, overwhelmed, unmotivated, or I just cannot force myself to do something that's boring or something I don't want to do, I just focus on what is the tiny one component of it. And you have to really train yourself to think this way. Let's say you're trying to outreach someone for an agency. You might be tempted to think, oh, step 1 is just sending 1 outreach. No, that's way too big. Like I'm thinking small. Literally the first tiny step is opening a tab, right? Pulling up email and clicking compose 1 email, right? Clicking record on my camera. Like you have to think super small because then once I complete that first tiny step, I try to make myself realize, okay, I've done something. And that gets the ball rolling, right? I start to get rewarded for it. And that makes it just a little bit easier to do the next thing. It makes it just a little bit easier to do the next thing after that. The third pillar of ADHD mastery for me has been exercise. Like if I cannot focus, for example, today, I was sitting at my desk and I just felt so restless. Like I was just like, ugh, so much energy. I just couldn't sit still. I was just like feeling disgusting, like antsy, agitated. I just did not want to do this task I was doing right now. I went straight to the gym. I got the best workout ever. I just hit the gym so hard. And after that, I went up to the cafe inside the gym, sat down, cranked out that work like it was nothing. It was so easy. Again, with ADHD, you can tend to have an addictive personality. When the gym becomes something that you're addicted to, life gets so much better. I have been loving the gym. Like I love it. And it makes me such a better entrepreneur. It makes me communicate better. It gives me more energy, more clarity, more testosterone. I just feel more motivated in everything I do. And it's a predictable win that you can get every single day. No matter how bad the day is, no matter what happens in the business, you can drop on the floor and do push-ups and get stronger. You will just get bigger. It's like a direct cause and effect. You lift weights, you do heavy, hard things, and you get stronger. It's so nice to just have that predictability, an easy win I can get every single day. Now, the most important pillar of ADHD mastery is the theory of constraint. Now, this is the biggest game changer for this entire house. Me and all my roommates, we live and breathe the theory of constraints. What is the theory of constraints? It's the idea that there is always one constraint in your business that is stopping the growth. Just one actual constraint. Alex Hormozy runs acquisition.com from this one principle. He invests in a company or someone comes to his workshop and they just look for what is the one constraint that's stopping growth, and then they attack that one constraint as hard as they possibly can. As an ADHD entrepreneur, one of the easiest ways to identify the constraint, the one thing that's actually gonna move the needle, is to think about what is the one thing I'm avoiding the most. That thing is probably the thing that actually gets the most growth. And there's probably a massive to-do list above that, but you have to just be brutally honest with yourself and tell yourself and admit to yourself, I am just doing things that get me more dopamine, that's just more exciting, that's just more fun. The more honest you can be with yourself about that, the more money you'll make faster, the faster you'll grow the business. The amount of times my business partner and I have had a shiny object, a new idea, something new to try, and we have to go like, what on earth are we thinking right now? We have a business that has gotten us to 70K a month. Why on earth would we think about changing it? We just have to do it again. We just have to do more of it. Just the same thing that's working. We have a working money printing machine, right? Stop changing shit. Just do more of it. There's a Dan Kennedy quote I heard where it's like, the true test of a marketer is when they find something that works, they stop doing it, right? It's just a classic ADHD entrepreneur. You get something that's working, I'm bored. I need to do something else. Stop. You will just have more excitement and more fulfillment in life when you just keep investing in something and get that compounding return, right? Something that you work on for a long, long time, and it builds and builds and builds value instead of just hopping from one thing to the next. So the theory of constraint is so important. There is always only one priority in the business, only one. You have to drill that in your mind constantly. There's only a couple things it could be. Are you getting enough leads? Are there enough leads getting on the phone? Are enough people on the phone actually closing and becoming customers? Are those customers actually getting fulfilled on? They're getting what they were promised. That's 4 things. Marketing, sales, product. That's it. A perfect example of this, quick story. I went on a little trip with one of my roommates here to the north of Bali for my birthday. And he was excitedly telling me, I got another person on a free trial for my agency. And I said this without meaning to really hit him hard, but I said, dude, you need to close these people. You can't just keep free trialing people till they buy. And that was like a pivotal moment for him because he realized that was his real constraint. He could get people's attention. He could get people to open his emails. He could get people on the phone, but he couldn't get the money from them. So he would just free trial them because that was the thing that he was scared of. He didn't feel comfortable going out and learning how to close someone. But once he realized that, a light bulb went off in his mind. He's like, okay, I can just fully attack this constraint. I can just go and learn how to close some people. And that's exactly what he did. And he very quickly went from $0 a month to 30K a month from just attacking the one thing. So it's just even more important with ADHD when your mind is so prone to bouncing up and down and left and right on all these exciting ideas constantly. You have to narrow your focus constantly. It has to be an exercise. I would put it on your phone screen, on your laptop screen. What's the one problem I'm trying to solve? And just attack that one thing. Because you'll realize that when you actually solve that problem, you start making more money. And then a new problem will come up. And you'll look back and laugh at the old problems that you used to be having. I look back on the problems I was solving a year ago and they were so small in comparison to the problems I'm solving today. But yet today the problems are still problems. They're still stressful. They're just, the nature of them is completely different. That really just came from waging war against my own tendencies and creating systems around my life to get me to act according to the way that actually grows my life, grows my character, and grows my business. So if you're an ADHD entrepreneur, my challenge for you is to identify the one thing that is the wall between you and more money. There is literally one wall and you have to attack that thing. It might be uncomfortable, you might avoid it a lot, but if you close all your tabs, you hit the gym, you sit down, you clear your to-do list, and you put that one thing, solve this one problem on your to-do list, and then you break it down into the smallest steps possible so you're not as overwhelmed. You start to get that momentum of feeling, okay, I did this one little step, and you start to move. You will always have a clear direction in your business. This is the literal cheat code to always knowing what to do next in your business without anyone having to tell you. The problem is always pretty obvious. So that's my story. I've gone through quite a lot of hell from my ADHD because it's come with a ton of challenges. Growing up in college, I just couldn't function sometimes, right? But it's the habits, these small things, these ways of working, keeping my spaces clean, keeping my to-do list the same, keeping my routines and activities healthy and things that help my brain function better. I have really started to thrive with my ADHD. It's become a big superpower and a big asset and given me a ton of drive, a lot of hyper focus on the right things. And of course it still comes with its challenges, but I'm just one of the 500% more likely people to become an entrepreneur. If you're, at the beginning of your journey as an ADHD entrepreneur, just know that success comes down to winning the war against some of your own tendencies and not beating yourself up about it in the process. You have to come at it with compassion and grace and your own best interest in mind. It's not like you're trying to punish yourself and force yourself into doing these things in like the most painful, brutal way all the time. I'm not trying to David Goggins you right now. You just have to build a life around your weaknesses. You have to supplement and create systems around your weaknesses so that your strengths blossom and they actually help you move the needle forward. So that's it for this video. See you in the next one.